Morning light came off the bayou like a slow fever, and James Lee Burke walked into his living room carrying a cup of community coffee and the quiet certainty that the day would ask nothing of him that he could not give, which was the kind of morning a man earns the hard way, through years of navigating the particular darkness that lives in the human heart and does not leave simply because you ask it to.
Who in the hell?
The knuckles were scarred in half moons, the kind of scars that come from the other man's teeth. And Burke had known enough men who carried that particular souvenir to understand that Ernest Hemingway had spent a portion of his life making sure the world knew he was in it. Hemingway moved his hands below the armrest, which was the kind of thing a man does when he's being seen more clearly than he intended.
What is that infernal chatter? That's not chatter. That's the narration. Narration of what? We're just sitting here. We're never just sitting here, Ernest. And you do this constantly? Since I was 9 years old. Nobody has asked you to stop. Nah, my wife, occasionally my editor. One time a sheriff in New Iberia told me it made him nervous. It makes me nervous. You're dead, Ernest. Your nerves are somebody else's problem now.
Hemingway's jaw tightened in the way that jaws tighten on men who have confused certainty with confidence for so long the two have become indistinguishable.
You want coffee? If you're going to keep narrating my jaw, I'm going to need something much stronger. No can do, partner. I forgot. You write sober. Explains why you have so much time to narrate the entire experience. And you wrote drunk. Which explains why you thought leaving things out was a philosophy. Just because a man enjoys a stiff drink does not mean he has to put every indulgent thought on the page.
Burke took a sip of his coffee. The dark roast moved through him the way the first light moves across the bayou. And
that, right there, that is what I'm talking about. I wasn't finished. You're describing coffee. I was describing the experience of coffee. There's a difference. At least Billy Faulkner would offer me a strong drink, even if I was going to have to listen to him talk about it for 15 minutes. But at least I had whiskey, and I wasn't listening to the old man and the coffee. One of your best books. Awful title, though. I beg your pardon? Anything would pop more than a 6-word sentence hanging on by bare descriptors. The Big Water Boogie. The Ragged Marlin Boogie. You have a problem with that word specifically. It's a feeling, Ernest. It's the feeling of something moving the way it shouldn't move. A big man light on his feet. A storm coming in sideways. An old Cuban, alone, wrestling something magnificent and doomed.
Hemingway sat very still, the way a man sits when an argument he was certain he was winning has shifted underneath him like the tide going out.
You spent your whole life in the Garden of Gethsemane, Ernest. Every book, every fight, every drink. A man on his knees in an olive garden asking God to let the cup pass. But you never drank it. You just kept kneeling. You kneeled until you couldn't kneel anymore. That's what the short sentences were. A man so terrified of being misunderstood, you decided not to say too much at all and call it discipline.
Hemingway was very still now. The way a man is still when something true has found him in a place he thought was hidden. And then he was less there than he had been. And then he was the memory of being there. And then he was gone. The way the morning mist leaves the bayou, not all at once, but incrementally, surrendering to the light and degrees, till there is nothing left but the water and the silence and the particular knowledge that something has passed through and will not come again. Burke sat alone in his living room with his community coffee, with the feeling in his heart that comes with repairing an old boat. He took a sip. The dark roast moved through him the way the first light moves across the bayou in November. Slow, certain, and without apology. He didn't narrate it out loud this time. There was nobody left to bother.
You fixed nothing. I grew tired of listening. I'm going to haunt Nicholas Sparks.